All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're diving deep into a massive conversation happening all across Singapore, and it's one that's all about you and your education. We're talking exams, stress, and what the future of school might actually look like.
So let's start with a feeling I'm pretty sure you know. That intense stomach and knots pressure right before a big test. You know the one. It's a feeling that can seem like it's just a normal part of being a student here.
But check this out, it's not just a feeling. A huge study found that a whopping 76% of 15-year-olds in Singapore feel super anxious before a test, even if they've studied hard for it. And to put that into perspective, that is way higher than the average for other developed countries. So the main thing to know is if you feel that stress, you are so not alone. In fact, it's because so many students feel this way that it's kicked off this massive national conversation. Everyone, from your parents to the government, is starting to ask some really big questions. And that has led a lot of people to ask this simple but kind of huge question. What if we just got rid of the PSLE? The primary school leaving examination. Just poof, gone. Can you even imagine what school would be like without it?
Now, on the surface, that sounds like a pretty great fix for all that stress, doesn't it? But, like with most big ideas, it turns out it's a lot more complicated than it looks. There are some really strong arguments on both sides of this.
Okay, so let's break down the two main camps. On one side, people who want to scrap it say, hey, this would lower stress and let kids focus on developing in all sorts of ways, not just grades. But then the other side pushes back saying, wait a minute. Wouldn't the stress just move somewhere else, like to primary 1 registration or later on to the O-levels? And they raise a super important point. Without it, how do you decide who goes to which secondary school in a way that's fair to everyone?
And what's really interesting is that the government is clearly listening. The education minister himself said that any changes might not just be a little tweak, but could actually be quite major. That's a huge signal that they're open to really rethinking how the whole system works, from the ground up.
And that's because this whole conversation is actually way bigger than just the PSLE. The Ministry of Education is looking at the entire system, trying to figure out, where all this pressure is really coming from.
They're putting everything under the microscope. How hard should our national exams be? How much should the PSLE really matter for getting into secondary school? They're even looking at the direct school admission scheme, where you can get in based on talents outside of grades, and CCAs, because they've realized that even these things have somehow become another source of competition and stress.
And all of this is an attempt to deal with something experts call the education arms race. It's basically that feeling that you and your family have to keep doing more tuition, more enrichment classes, just to keep up with what everyone else is doing. It's a race that just ends up making everyone more stressed out. So, if changing the rules for exams and admissions is only one part of the solution, what's the real goal here? What's the deeper problem that we're trying to solve?
Well, it seems the deepest issue isn't really the exams themselves. It's about our attitude towards them. The biggest challenge is actually changing the mindsets of our entire society, parents, teachers, and even us students, about what success really means.
And this right here perfectly shows the kind of big shift the MOE is hoping for. It's about moving the entire conversation away from asking which is the best school out there to asking a totally different question. Which school is the best fit for me? For my interests, my talents, and the way I learn.
An education minister really drove this point home with this powerful statement. It's a clear message saying that real success in life is about so much more than what's on your report card. It's about your skills, your passions, and who you are as a person. So, as these huge changes are being talked about, it gives all of us a chance to think about what really matters. If the goal isn't just about getting the highest score, then what does being successful in school and in life actually look like to you? That's a pretty big question, and definitely one that's worth thinking about.